how can you swing the ball both ways at pace? This video is going to help you figure out how to do that, even if you can only swing the ball one way, or if you can't swing the ball at all. So let's get started. Now in 10 seconds, I'm going to recap what every other video has told you about swinging the ball. I probably go something like this. Shine one side of the ball, let the other side get rough, and it'll swing away from the shine. And then second, they'll say, if you want to bowl outswing, point the seam towards second slip. Or if you want to bowl inswing, point it towards fine leg. Now this advice is technically correct, but in practice, I think it fails because, okay, yeah, if one side of the ball's rough, one side shiny, pressure difference, Bernoulli's theorem, it's gonna swing. But here's the thing, when you get a new ball, both sides are shiny, first off, and these white balls these days, they don't swing more than 4 overs. So do you really think the ball's gonna get rough in 4 overs? I don't think so. And then the second part, which is actually the advice that I do wanna say is correct. The easiest way to swing the ball a lot is to make sure that the seam is angled properly and it stays straight in the air because it acts as a rudder and pushes the ball that way. But here's the problem, most of those videos only say point it to second slip and they don't tell you any further. So that's what I'll do today. Now, before I go on to the specific kinds, here's what you need to understand. If you want to swing the ball both ways, you need to do 2 things. First off, your arm needs to be straight above your head when you release, because you can swing it if your arm isn't straight, but then that means one side is going to swing more. If you're an outswinger, usually going a little bit round arm gives you more swing, but it makes it near impossible to get in swing, and vice versa. If you bowl in swing and your action's like this, it's very hard to bowl outswing from this, unless the ball is very, very new. So it's also a good technique thing to make sure that your bowling arm comes right by your ear. This will also get you extra bounce and make sure the ball lands on its seam. Now, the second thing, each bowler has a slight bias in their action. Like every bowler will bowl one type of swing better, and here's an easy way to figure that out. I'm going to use a stump to visualize this, but when you jump and you land, if you look at where your hips are, my hips point completely that way. So that means the stump is going that way. If your hips turn completely sideways, you're going to be able to outswing the ball easier and more because your hips will rotate fully. And this helps the ball swing more. And then on the flip side, I'm going to show you Bumrah's action kind of. When he jumps and lands, it's not exactly like this, but you'll notice that his hips are very open in comparison. So what that does is that allows bowlers to get leverage this way. And that means the ball will in-swing easier. Now, of course, you can swing it both ways, but everyone has a more dominant swing. So, and odds are if you do swing it one way, and you look at your action, you'll see these 2 things match up. Now we're going to move on to the 2 types of swing, and I'm going to give you cues to ensure that you can release the ball with the seam straight in the air, but tilted one way, because that is the most important thing for bowling swing. So we're going to start with outswing because that's easier for humans to bowl. The cues that you need to understand are, first off, because your middle finger is longer, you don't actually need to turn the seam more, because watch this. This is me holding it straight, right? I'm just going to release the ball. And you'll notice the last point of contact, if my hand is straight, the ball is already tilted towards that side. With outswing, here's the key. You want to make sure that your grip on the ball is fairly loose. And then the key point, the last point of contact is going to actually be your index finger. And you want the ball to roll over your finger this way. You don't need to tilt the ball much. In fact, you just twist your wrist a little bit, very little, subtly. And then second, this is something I haven't seen anyone else talk about, but you look at my arm, you want to twist it a little bit that way, so like that. Now what this does is that make sure that the majority of the ball is like on this side of the center of your hand. And what this does is this makes sure that your hand naturally comes down on this side of the ball. So if you look from behind, so again, straight, you twist a little bit that way, and then you twist a little bit like this. And what that'll do is, as you release, you'll see my hand naturally comes down this side. And this is without, by the way, this is without me turning the ball this much in my hand. Just a very slight twist. So this is the cue. Now, here, there are 4 drills you'll do to get this. I'm going to cover those drills right after I cover the in-swing part. So for in-swing, what you have to do is, this one's a little bit harder because you have to really practice this one to make sure the ball comes out correct. But again, it comes naturally to some people. So this one, I like to keep my fingers a little closer. In outswing, you can kind of keep them wide like this. In inswing, I want to keep them a little bit closer. And then the same principles apply. So This time I turn the seam just a little bit that way, and then again I tilt my arm a little bit the other way, so like this, because what that does is now the majority of the ball is on this side, so my hand will naturally come down this way. Now, one thing that really helped me, one of the cues, is to actually have the ball rest on this part of my hand right here. And what that does is if you push it a little bit against that way, one, this keeps the ball's mass that way, and second, this ensures that the last point of contact with the ball will actually be your middle finger, because if you keep your index finger on the ball as you release it, it actually will throw the ball off balance. And I can't tell you the amount of times I've bowled a wide down the offside because I've been trying to do this. So let's look at this again. You start off straight, you turn the ball just a little bit that way, fingers a little bit closer together, and make sure it's resting on this part of the hand. Yeah, and of course, again, there will be a shiny side, so make sure the shiny side is on this side for inswing. And then tilt your arm a little bit that way. And when you release it, it should come out mostly straight. Give me one more chance. And that. So now there are 4 drills you will do. These are the same for inswing and outswing, but you do it in these 4 steps to ensure that you can do it consistently and at pace. The first drill is a standing drill where you just stand in one place and release it. But you don't want to do it like a spinner. Like you see spinners like do this, right? Where they throw it up and then down. Here's the problem. As a fast bowler, your arm moves very fast. So if you practice doing it up and down, that does not simulate it properly. What you want to do is you want to make sure your arm is straight. And then you want to bring your whole arm up. And then as you bring it down, that's when you release it. And what you'll realize, you can try it. You'll probably be able to just, you'll be able to keep the seams upright if you do it this way. But if you actually switch to this way, it's not that easy in comparison. So this is the first drill. You want to do this until it feels comfortable in your hand. And again, for outswing, your last point of contact is your index finger. And then for inswing, the last point of contact is your middle finger. Now for the second drill, you take it up 1 notch. You don't jump, but you stand in your stance like this. And then you practice the same thing and you actually throw the ball this time. So you can see what this looks like. And you want to do this 6 times until you can see that the seam is straight in the air. You're not trying to be fast here. This time you're just trying to figure out if you can actually release the ball and have the seam come out straight. So 6 balls, maybe 12 balls if you can't get it. And then you move on to the next step. Now this is where you bowl off 3 to 4 steps and you see if you can still keep the seam straight in the air. This is the part where most people will get stuck, because when your whole body moves, it's a little bit harder to get used to. The 2 important things to keep in mind for this step are to make sure that your bowling arm comes straight by your ear. And then for the second part, make sure that you are following through straight. Because if you do those 2 things, you'll be able to swing it both ways rather than just one. And then the last part, of course, is going to your full run up and just trying to bowl in the right spot. If you do all of these things, I guarantee it, you give it a couple weeks, you'll be able to swing the ball both ways. And then after that, it's just a matter of being able to swing it both ways at pace. Like currently, I can outswing pretty fast, but when I switch to inswing, my pace does drop. However, as you practice, especially the third drill, right? Once you get used to it enough in the third drill, you'll be able to add as many steps to your run-up as you need, and it'll work out properly. So keep up the practice. And in my next video, I'm going to teach you guys how to bowl in the power play, because that's where swing gets used the most.